Hello, this is Candy from eyes2jesus.blogspot.com. And this is the beginning of April. This is April 5th as I'm filming this. And April is Autism Awareness Month. I don't tend to keep track of what month is what awareness of what thing. It's never really been that big of a deal to me. However, being on the Autism Spectrum, I did take interest when I did hear last year or the year before that April was Autism Awareness Month. I think it's great that there's a lot of videos and information being put out there, talking about children on the autism spectrum, but I think more awareness needs to be brought that those children grow up and become adults, such as I did. I am high-functioning autistic, Aspergers, and I found out that I had Aspergers right around the age of 30. I'm 39 now. And it answered a lot of questions. I always knew that I was different, but I never could figure out why or how. And then when I would try to fit in, I would just be more weird instead. So some women on the spectrum are able to wear a mask per se, and then they are able to appear to fit in at least for an amount of time, and then they might need to take some while to recuperate, but they can at least do it for short amounts of time. I can't. So I had tried in my teens and 20s. I would try to find people who appeared as normal to me, and then I would try to emulate them, but somehow I would not get the favorable results that they would get when they would behave in certain ways to certain situations. And when I would mimic them and try to behave in the way I've seen them behave in certain situations, most of the time it would blow up in my face. So yeah, and I didn't even know that I was on the autism spectrum then. I would say, it is freeing knowing that there is a name or a label as to why I am different. Asperger's and high-functioning autism and autism in general is not a mental disorder. It is a neurological difference. I do firmly believe that a large percentage of people on the autism spectrum can be verbal. I think there is a limited window in brain development and age in which communication develops, and the further people are on the autism spectrum, the more they might not even really understand, well, why should they even talk? What's the point? What's the purpose of talking? A lot of things that come natural to NTs, NT stands for neurotypical, those are people who are not autistic, do not come natural to those of us on the spectrum. For most of us, it does not come natural to make any kind of eye contact whatsoever. Doesn't cross our mind. That's something that has to be told to us and that we have to practice. I had to learn how to smile. I didn't know what the point of smiling was until I remember my mom specifically showing me one time. My dad was trying to take my picture and he kept saying, "Smile!" And I guess I had a dumbfounded look because I wasn't sure what he was talking about. And my mom showed me her smile. So for a while when I was younger, I thought smiling meant showing as many teeth as you can. And so I would have a really weird smile like that. And then I thought I looked goofy, so then I did the straight mouth, closed lip smile for a while. So, and of course now being an adult many years later, I understand the purpose of smiling and I enjoy smiling, especially as a Christian. Smiling is a tool that helps my countenance reflect my Christianity and that I do have joy and peace in the Lord. So, there's a lot of positives and negatives on having Asperger's. I made a video with my husband, I think it was last year or so, called Living with Asperger's, so you can take a look at that. I might make an Asperger's playlist if I decide to do any more Asperger's videos, especially this month being Autism Awareness Month. But yeah, we have some struggles with sensory. We don't filter as many things out as NTs do. As I am talking to you, I am constantly nonstop cognizant of a light on over there behind the camera and then a light on over there in the next room, and the sunlight coming in through a window over there and sunlight coming in through a window over there. They are constantly present to me right now, nonstop. They do not fade into the background like they would for an NT. So it is a matter of creating the pathways in my brain's wiring to find a way to function without being distracted by these things. However, they can sometimes give me a headache. So, you know, stuff like the lights and the windows, no big deal. I'm not going to be standing here very long with them shining at me. But when I'm in places where there's overhead lighting or overhead ceiling fans turning, such as at church, I'm constantly seeing the fans turning, the lights constantly coming down to my eye, and so it takes willpower to power through that sensory. I hear all sorts of sounds around me in crowded room. It seems like I hear every single conversation at the same time. Often it just seems like it's at the same volume. I have a very sensitive sense of smell, which actually means that sometimes I actually recognize a person by their scent before I am able to observe their features. A beauty of being on the spectrum and with having Asperger's is many of us have above average IQs. Then when you combine that with our social awkwardness, it can be quite an interesting mix. So, you know, autism and Asperger's does not define me. It's just how I'm neurologically set up. We all have different personalities and different traits and different experiences, and we all make different decisions in our lives. So while we each are different, we also do have a lot of things that are similar. But anyways, yeah, I just wanted to say, you know, if you are new to this channel or you don't know me, then yeah, my name is Candy. I am on the autism spectrum, high functioning autism. I have Asperger's. And like I said earlier, it answered a lot of questions for me as to why I'm different, why I experience things differently, and why I don't seem to very often act or react in the way that neurotypicals expect me to act or react. I look through my photo albums, especially from when I was a kid and stuff. One thing that has recently stuck out to me is there's not pictures of me much with other people other than with my parents, and then later, of course, with my husband and children. But growing up, there's no pictures of me with friends. That would have never crossed my mind. And frankly, it still doesn't really cross my mind very much. But another thing I've noticed is, you can see in my baby pictures, I'm not making eye contact. Like, for example, when my mom's holding me, I'm looking in a totally different spot. So yeah, I will just show you a little bit from my photo album because I think it's interesting to see little Aspie me. You'll also see a picture where I am sitting in a cupboard, you know, little, and I'm like, but I spent a lot of my time when I could, when I was really small, being in a cupboard or a cabinet. I liked the closed-inness. Things were calmer and quieter, and I could control my environment because it was much smaller. And then when I got too big for that, then for years I had a corner in my closet. Things were more closed in, so it didn't feel as overwhelming. There wasn't as much sensory flying around at me. I could actually relax. My brain didn't have so much to process. And so, yeah, a lot of my childhood free time when I could, especially when I needed to relax or unwind, was spent in a cabinet and later in a corner in a closet. And I have learned that that actually is, you know, a common Aspie trait of children. Because sometimes, you know, an autistic or Asperger's child, they just need a small, simple space that's quiet and to themselves, where they can unwind without stuff flying at them all the time. Anyways, here's a few shots from that photo album.